Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen someone you hate? Have you ever shared a face with someone who used that face to destroy everything you built? What if the person who looked exactly like you, who shared your DNA and your childhood, decided that looking like you wasn't enough? She wanted to be you, to have your life, your husband, your career, your identity. What if your identical twin sister, the person you'd trusted since birth, systematically stole every piece of your life while everyone around you was too confused by your matching faces to know which one of you was telling the truth? My name is Elena Martinez, and I'm 32 years old. I have an identical twin sister named Sophia, and for the first 28 years of our lives, being twins was the most special thing about us. We had that connection people always talk about, finishing each other's sentences, knowing when the other was hurt or upset, being each other's best friend and fiercest protector. We were inseparable, identical, a unit. Everyone called us the twins, like we were one entity split into two bodies. Then Sophia decided that sharing wasn't enough. She wanted everything I had. So she seduced my husband, stole my position at work, framed me for embezzlement, and nearly destroyed my entire life. She thought being identical twins gave her the perfect cover. No one could prove which one of us had done what when we looked exactly the same. She thought she was clever, using our twin bond as a weapon against me. What she didn't realize was that the same identical appearance that let her steal my life would be exactly what I'd use to take her down and get everything back. This is the story of ultimate betrayal, of how the person who shared my face became my worst enemy, and how I used the very thing she'd weaponized to destroy her completely. Let me start at the beginning, with the moment I should have seen the warning signs but was too trusting to recognize them. Sophia and I were born 20 minutes apart in Sacramento, California, 32 years ago. I came first, making me technically the older twin, though we never really thought about it that way. We were just the twins, Elena and Sophia, Sophia and Elena, always together, always matching. Our parents dressed us identically until we were 12 and finally rebelled. We went to the same schools, had the same friend group, even dated twin brothers for a while in high school, which everyone thought was hilarious and adorable. We were close in that intense way twins are, where you can't imagine life without the other person because they've been there literally since before birth. We told each other everything, shared everything, supported each other through every challenge. When I got into UCLA and Sophia didn't, I almost turned it down to go with the state school with her. She convinced me not to, said one of us should pursue the better opportunity, that she'd be fine at Sacramento State. That's when the distance started, though I didn't recognize it then. 4 years of different colleges, different experiences, different friend groups. I thrived at UCLA, made great connections, got recruited by a prestigious marketing firm in LA after graduation. Sophia struggled more, changed majors 3 times, took 5 years to graduate, ended up with a degree she didn't really use. By the time we were both out of school, our lives had diverged in ways that maybe created the first seeds of resentment. But we were still twins, still close. I got her a job at my company, not a high-level position, but decent work in the administration department. I introduced her to my social circle in LA. When Michael Chen, a successful architect I'd met through work, Sophia was the first person I told. When Michael proposed after 2 years, Sophia was my maid of honor. She helped plan the wedding, threw my bachelorette party, gave a toast at the reception about how happy she was that I'd found someone who loved me as much as she did. I married Michael when we were 28. Beautiful wedding, 200 guests, everything perfect. Sophia caught the bouquet and joked that she'd be next, though she wasn't dating anyone seriously at the time. Michael and I bought a house in Pasadena, started talking about having kids soon. We're building the life we wanted. At work, I'd been promoted to senior marketing director, managing a team of 8 people and handling major client accounts. I was good at my job, respected by colleagues, on track for a VP position within a couple years. Sophia was still in administration, and I'd tried several times to help her move up, but she never seemed motivated to pursue advancement. I thought maybe she just wasn't as ambitious as I was, that she was content with a comfortable job that paid the bills. I never thought she resented my success, that every promotion I got was another wound to her ego, another reminder that the identical twin who was supposed to be her equal was actually surpassing her in every way. The affair started about 6 months after my wedding, though I didn't know it then. Michael started working late more often, which wasn't unusual for an architect with demanding projects. He seemed distracted sometimes, distant, but when I asked if everything was okay, he'd say he was just stressed about work. I believed him because why wouldn't I? We'd only been married 6 months. We were still in that newlywed phase where you trust completely, where infidelity seems impossible. Sophia started coming over more often. She'd drop by unannounced, sometimes when Michael was home and I was working late. She'd offer to make dinner, to help with household projects, to keep Michael company. I thought it was sweet that my twin and my husband were getting along so well, that they were becoming friends, that when I was busy with work projects, my husband had company. I was so stupid. It went on for 3 months before I found out, and I only found out because Sophia wanted me to know. That's the thing I realized later. She could have kept it secret indefinitely, but she wanted me to discover it, because the affair wasn't just about wanting Michael, it was about taking something from me, about proving she could. I came home early from a business trip, a 2-day conference in San Francisco that I'd cut short because I wasn't feeling well. Walked into my house at 3 in the afternoon on a Wednesday and heard sounds from upstairs. Went up to find my husband in bed with someone who looked exactly like me. For a moment, my brain couldn't process it. I was seeing myself in bed with my husband, which was impossible because I was standing in the doorway. Then I recognized the small scar on her shoulder from a childhood bike accident, the tiny mole on her left hip that I didn't have, and I realized I was looking at Sophia. They both saw me at the same time. Michael went white, scrambled to cover himself, started saying my name over and over like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. But Sophia just looked at me with this smile, this satisfied, triumphant smile, and I knew this wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was deliberate. This was planned. This was exactly what she wanted. "I'm so sorry," Sophia said, but she didn't sound sorry at all. "It just happened. We couldn't help ourselves. We're in love, Elena. We tried to resist, but the connection was too strong." "You're in love?" I repeated, feeling like my brain was short-circuiting. "You're in love with my husband? You're my twin sister. You were in my wedding. This is my house. This is my bed." "I know," she said, and she still had that smile. "I know this is hard for you to understand, but Michael and I, we have something real, something we can't ignore." Michael was crying, saying he was sorry, saying he never meant to hurt me, but he wasn't denying it, wasn't saying it was a mistake that would never happen again. He was apologizing for getting caught, not for the betrayal itself. I left, walked out of my own house because I couldn't stand to be in the same space as them, drove aimlessly for hours, called in sick to work the next day, stayed at a hotel because I couldn't face going home. My identical twin sister was having an affair with my husband, and I had no idea how to process that level of betrayal. When I finally went back to the house 2 days later, Michael begged for forgiveness, said it was a terrible mistake, that he loved me, that he'd end things with Sophia immediately and we could work through this. I wanted to believe him because the alternative was my marriage ending after less than a year. We started couples therapy. I forgave him even though I knew I shouldn't. We tried to rebuild. But Sophia didn't go away. She kept calling, kept texting, kept showing up places we were. She'd walk past us at restaurants, at the grocery store, at the gym, always with that same smile. Sometimes I couldn't tell if it was actually Sophia or if I was seeing my own reflection and losing my mind. The psychological torment of seeing your twin everywhere, of knowing she'd been with your husband, of not being able to escape her because she literally had your face, it was devastating in ways I couldn't explain to anyone. At work, things started going wrong. Client presentations I'd prepared would have errors in them that I hadn't made. Files I'd saved would be different versions than what I'd created. My boss started calling me in to ask about missed deadlines and poor work quality, and I'd have no idea what he was talking about because I hadn't missed those deadlines, hadn't submitted that subpar work. Then I figured it out. Sophia had access to the building through her administration position. She looked exactly like me. She could walk into my office, log into my computer if I'd left it unlocked, sabotage my work, and no one would know it wasn't me. I tried to report it, but it sounded insane. My identical twin sister is impersonating me at work to make me look incompetent is not something you can say without sounding paranoid, especially when Sophia was careful to never be caught on camera, to only sabotage things that couldn't be definitively traced back to her. My marriage wasn't recovering despite therapy. Michael said he wanted to stay together, but his heart wasn't in it. He'd look at me sometimes with this confused expression, and I realized he was seeing Sophia in my face, couldn't separate us in his mind. The affair had permanently damaged his ability to see me as myself, rather than as one half of identical twins. 6 months after I'd caught them, Michael asked for a divorce. Said he loved me but couldn't do this anymore, couldn't live with the constant reminders, couldn't fix what was broken. I signed the papers in a daze, feeling like I was signing away my life. But I found out later the real reason he wanted the divorce. He and Sophia were still together, had been the entire time we were in therapy. He'd just been buying time, letting her continue the affair while pretending to work on our marriage. At work, the sabotage continued and escalated. Then came the accusation that destroyed everything I'd built professionally. Someone had embezzled $200,000 from client accounts through careful manipulation of invoices and payments. The trail led to my login credentials, my approval signatures, my access codes. I was accused of embezzling $200,000 from the company I'd worked at for 6 years, where I'd built my reputation and my career. I hadn't done it, but someone who looked exactly like me and had access to the building had. Sophia had not only stolen my husband and sabotaged my work, she'd framed me for a crime that would send me to prison. And because we were identical twins with the same DNA, the same fingerprints in many databases, the same face on security footage, proving I wasn't the one who did it was nearly impossible. I was fired immediately. The company filed a police report. I was facing criminal charges for embezzlement. My lawyer told me the evidence was strong, that even though I swore I didn't do it, we couldn't prove it wasn't me when my twin sister looked identical and had access to everything I had access to. I lost my job, my reputation, my husband, and faced the possibility of losing my freedom. And through all of it, Sophia was there, watching, smiling, living the life she'd wanted all along. She got promoted into my old position at work after I was fired. After all, she was so similar to me, had learned from me, could step right into my role. She moved into my house with Michael. They were engaged now, planning their wedding. She had my life in every way that mattered, except for the small fact that she was technically a different person. I was 30 years old, unemployed, facing criminal charges, divorced, and living in a studio apartment I could barely afford. I'd lost everything, and everyone knew it. People who'd been my friends wouldn't return my calls. Professional contacts blocked me. My family was confused and hurt, not sure which one of us to believe when we both told completely different stories about what had happened. That's when I decided to stop being the victim and start being the predator. Sophia had used our identical appearance to destroy me. I was going to use that same identical appearance to destroy her right back. If we looked so much alike that no one could tell us apart, then maybe I could use that confusion to expose exactly what she'd done. I started by getting myself together, found a lawyer who specialized in twin cases and identity fraud, spent every dollar I had left on someone who actually understood the unique complications of being framed by your identical twin, started documenting everything, every time Sophia appeared somewhere, every move Michael made, every piece of evidence I could gather about the embezzlement scheme. Then I did something Sophia didn't expect. I changed my appearance slightly but strategically, cut my hair in a style distinctly different from hers, started wearing specific jewelry she never wore. Small changes that close observers could use to tell us apart, but subtle enough that if I wanted to be mistaken for her, I still could be, because I had a plan. A plan to use the one weapon she'd used against me, our faces, to prove she was the criminal and fraud she actually was. My lawyer helped me investigate the embezzlement more carefully. We found security footage from the building that showed someone who looked like me entering after hours multiple times during the period when the fake invoices were created. But there were tiny differences. The way I walked, certain mannerisms that weren't quite right. With expert analysis, we could prove this person was imitating me rather than being me. More importantly, we found her mistakes. Sophia had been careful, but not perfect. There were timestamps of her being in two places at once, logged into my work computer while simultaneously clocked in at her own desk. Security badge swipes that showed her using her own access to enter the building, then switching to my credentials to access my office. She'd gotten sloppy toward the end, confident that no one would question whether it was really me, because who would suspect someone's identical twin of such elaborate fraud? We built a case, hired a private investigator who documented Sophia and Michael together, proved their relationship had continued during his marriage to me, established a clear motive for why she'd want to destroy my career and frame me, found testimony from coworkers who'd noticed things were off about me during the period of sabotage, slightly different mannerisms, different expressions, small behavioral changes that made sense if it wasn't actually me. But the biggest piece of evidence came from something I did myself. I used our identical appearance against her in a way she never saw coming. I knew Sophia and Michael were getting married, knew the date, the venue, the whole plan because they'd made it semi-public. I showed up at their wedding venue a week before the ceremony, wearing an outfit similar to what Sophia usually wore, with my hair styled like hers, looking as much like her as possible. I met with their wedding planner pretending to be Sophia and said we needed to move the venue and date due to a family emergency, provided updated contact information, made changes to their carefully planned event that would cause chaos and confusion, left before anyone could verify who I actually was. Then I did the same thing with their caterer, with the photographer, with multiple vendors always showing up as Sophia, always changing critical details of the wedding, always creating confusion and problems. When Sophia found out a week before her wedding that nothing was where it was supposed to be, that vendors were confused and angry, that deposits had been redirected to the wrong accounts, she was frantic. She kept insisting she hadn't made those changes, that someone was impersonating her, that this wasn't her fault. And everyone said, "But Sophia, we saw you. You came in and changed everything. We verified your ID. We talked to you. That was definitely you." Finally, she understood what I'd been experiencing for the past year. The hell of trying to convince people that someone who looks exactly like you is impersonating you and destroying your life. The frustration of no one believing you, because why would they question their own eyes? But unlike what she did to me, I wasn't trying to destroy her life. I was creating proof. Proof that identical twins can impersonate each other, that eyewitness testimony isn't reliable when the witnesses are looking at one of two identical faces, that someone could commit crimes while making everyone believe it was their twin. The chaos I created around her wedding was documented, vendors confused, dates changed, money redirected, all while Sophia had alibis proving she was somewhere else when she met with these vendors. Finally, there was clear proof that someone looking exactly like Sophia had done things she hadn't done. My lawyer used this as the cornerstone of our defense. If I could impersonate Sophia so effectively that multiple vendors and planners couldn't tell the difference, then obviously Sophia could have impersonated me at work. The prosecution's entire case was built on Elena was identified at these times doing these things. But we'd just proven that identical twin identification was unreliable at best, deliberately misleading at worst. The case against me for embezzlement fell apart. The prosecutor couldn't prove beyond reasonable doubt that I was the one who'd done it, when there was now documented evidence of twin impersonation happening in the other direction. The charges were dropped. Then I went on the offensive. I filed a lawsuit against Sophia for identity theft, fraud, interference with business relationships, and emotional distress. I sued Michael for alienation of affection and fraud. I provided all the evidence we'd gathered: the affair timeline, the work sabotage, the embezzlement scheme, the systematic destruction of my marriage and career. Sophia tried to claim everything was a misunderstanding, that we were both just confused, that being twins had caused innocent mix-ups. But the evidence was overwhelming. The private investigator's documentation, the security footage analysis, the testimony from coworkers, the proof that she'd been systematically impersonating me for over a year with deliberate intent to destroy my life. The civil trial was brutal. I had to testify about watching my twin sister in bed with my husband, about losing my job, my reputation, my marriage, about facing criminal charges for crimes I didn't commit, about the psychological torture of seeing your own face used as a weapon against you. Sophia's defense fell apart when they couldn't provide any reasonable explanation for why someone who looked exactly like me had access to my work credentials, had been caught on camera entering after hours, had manipulated invoices in exactly the pattern that led to my firing. When confronted with the evidence, she finally broke down and admitted to the affair, to the sabotage, to everything. The jury awarded me $3 million in damages, compensation for lost wages, reputation destruction, emotional trauma, and punitive damages meant to punish her malicious behavior. $3 million that Sophia and Michael would have to pay together since they'd collaborated in destroying my marriage. But the money wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted was her life destroyed the way she'd destroyed mine. And I got it. Sophia was fired from the job she'd stolen from me when the company realized she'd committed fraud to get me fired. Her reputation in our industry was destroyed. No one wanted to hire the woman who'd impersonated and framed her twin sister. Michael left her once the truth came out, and he realized the woman he'd been manipulated into loving was actually a sociopath who'd orchestrated everything. Their engagement ended, his reputation was damaged, he lost the house he'd won in our divorce settlement to help pay the damages. Sophia ended up exactly where I'd been a year earlier: unemployed, alone, broke, with a destroyed reputation and no prospects. The difference was she deserved it. I rebuilt my life slowly. Got a new job at a competing firm that was happy to hire me once my name was cleared and they understood what had actually happened. built new professional relationships, new friendships, a new life that didn't include toxic people or my psychotic twin sister. Sophia tried to contact me several times over the following months, apologizing, crying, begging for forgiveness, asking for help because she had nothing and nowhere to go. I blocked her every time. Whatever bond we had as twins was dead, killed by her jealousy and betrayal and systematic destruction of everything I'd built. I'm 32 now, 2 years past the day I found her in bed with my husband. I'm the senior vice president of marketing at a major firm making twice what I made before. I'm dating a wonderful man who knows the whole story and loves me anyway. I have great friends, a beautiful apartment, a life I'm proud of. Sophia is working retail, last I heard, living in a small apartment in a bad neighborhood, trying to scrape by. She can't get hired anywhere in our industry because everyone knows what she did. Michael is remarried to someone else, has nothing to do with either of us. Our parents have a relationship with both of us separately, but can't handle us being in the same room, so holidays are awkward split-time arrangements. People sometimes ask if I feel bad about what I did, deliberately sabotaging her wedding, using her own tactics against her, destroying her life with the same systematic precision she'd used to destroy mine. The answer is no. She destroyed my marriage, my career, and almost sent me to prison for crimes she committed. I just made sure everyone knew the truth and she faced consequences for her actions. Being an identical twin was supposed to mean having a built-in best friend, someone who understood you completely, someone who would always have your back. Sophia turned that into a weapon. She used the face we shared to steal everything I had and almost got away with it because who suspects their own twin of such elaborate, malicious betrayal? But she underestimated me. Thought that because we looked the same, we were the same. Thought I'd be a passive victim who'd just accept the destruction of my life. Didn't realize that the same face she'd used to betray me could be used right back to expose her. The last time I saw Sophia was at a coffee shop 6 months ago. I was there with my boyfriend, laughing about something, looking happy and successful. She was there alone, looking tired and worn down by the life she'd created for herself through her own terrible choices. Our eyes met across the coffee shop, and for a moment it was like looking in a mirror. Same face, same features, same DNA, but completely different people. I was everything I'd built myself back to be. She was everything her jealousy and betrayal had reduced her to. I didn't acknowledge her, just turned back to my boyfriend and continued our conversation like she didn't exist. Because to me, my twin sister died the day I found her in my bed with my husband. The person she'd become wasn't someone I recognized or wanted in my life. Sophia lost everything trying to steal my life. And in the end, I have a better life than she ever could have imagined, while she has nothing but the ruins of her own choices. That's the price of betrayal. That's what happens when you underestimate someone just because you share their face. That's what you deserve when you weaponize the bond of being twins against your own sister. I won. She lost. And I sleep perfectly well at night knowing that justice was served and she got exactly what she deserved.